Hey, what's up, Street Talks? Eric from the Eric from Street Photography blog. So I want to share with you some thoughts I have about this notion of fluidity or fluids or being fluid. So we tend to use the notion of like kind of workflow or notions of, you know, productivity, efficiency, reducing friction, blah, blah. But it's kind of interesting because I think a more accurate way of describing this notion is being fluid or fluidity. I don't know what the word is. So it's interesting. We use all these metaphors from nature, right? Like a stream, a photo stream, a live stream, streaming music, whatever. And so it looks like water is actually a very good element for us to think about in terms of everything. So for example, consider the power of water, like Hurricane Katrina being able to destroy the dams, whatever. Like water will not be obstructed. It'll always find a way. And there's the saying, force always finds a way. But also the thing that's interesting with water is that it could either destroy or it could be fluid and bend. So, you know, you're pouring water through a sieve. It's gonna find the holes to go through. And so I'm really interested in this notion of streaming and, you know, being fluid, because perhaps life is better where we could, you know, kind of simplify our lifestyles to make it more fluid. Because I think the big problem is we tend to think of it like simplicity, like, oh, I want to be minimalist or I want to be simple. But maybe a better notion is I want to be fluid. So to be fluid means like even, you know, you're doing a social conversation, to be able to be fluid and smooth between talking about one topic to another, being fluid in terms of using the simplest settings on your camera, just shooting in P mode or automatic mode, whatever, and just shooting JPEG, which allows you to be maximally fluid in terms of just shooting, importing your photos and sharing your photos. So it seems that like the more we could work out these like sort of kinks in the garden hose, the better. Now it's kind of tricky too, because not all things should be reduced of friction. There are some good things in friction. So let me use a crude example. Sex. Can you imagine having sex with no friction? Probably the world would have fewer babies, right? So the irony is that with sex or, you know, eroticism, whatever, it only is interesting or enjoyable because there is friction, because there is difficulty, because there's some sort of game or chase or whatever. And so, you know, imagine you're trying to pick up somebody, right? And it feels too easy. It's not fun, right? So I think humans, we kind of like to play. And so even with video games, right? When the game is too easy, it's actually not fun, but we don't want it to be too hard. So there kind of needs to be an even playing field. It's kind of like playing tennis too. You want your opponent to be about as good as you, and obviously you want to be better, but you want a good opponent. Same thing with fighters, right? Like a good fight is when your opponent is about as good as you, and, you know, then it kind of, you know, whoever the winner is depends on like your courage, your skill, your training, and so forth. So being fluid in life. Some practical things. I just essentially wear the same thing every day. And so I don't have to think about the friction of what to wear today. I just wear the same thing, so it's easy, right? Which allows me to get on with my day and do my work out, whatever. Same thing with working out. I have these like shark shoes, these kind of like kayaking shoes, water shoes I got on Amazon for like 15 bucks. And essentially I don't have to wear socks. I go barefoot, like it's like pseudo barefoot, right? It's like I'm essentially wearing like socks in public, right? With a little bit of grip on the bottom. So I use this to walk around, to leave my apartment, go work out and everything. It's so good too, because sometimes the friction that prevents us from leaving home is the fact that you got, you know, put on your socks, put on your shoes, tie your shoes, and then, you know, for those of us who own many shoes, what's going to be the optimal shoe to wear today? So there's a lot of friction and a lot of things impeding your flow. Or even with creative things, I like this notion when you're writing. Essentially, it's a stream of consciousness, the stream of flow. It's even when I'm talking to you right now in this vlog, I'm just streaming my thoughts. And it kind of goes contrary to everything that we've been taught in the West, where it's like, you must, you know, have a script and talk about blah, blah. But this is where the Japanese are pretty good, especially like, you know, Araki, Daido Moriyama, and these kind of individuals, that they shoot with a stream of consciousness, meaning they don't try to overanalyze or rationalize their pictures, they just kind of shoot what they like. And so as a consequence, the photos actually, I think, have more soul and emotion. And like, even with literature, I think, you know, Ulysses is considered one of the greatest novels, and it's just a dude's 24-hour day. So I'm taking this notion of streaming and this notion of being fluid to the extreme. I'm trying to create as much as I can and share as much as I can and reduce as many chinks in the process. So for example, like using autocorrect instead of having to type out things manually, even uploading stuff online and not naming it or not renaming things. And so for me, the goal is for me to continue to stream, continue to be fluid without any sort of obstruction. So be fluid, create fluidly, and maybe this is a concept we could meditate on more.